For renewable energy, and Sarawak on the right track to focus on green economy, and the SIBU no longer capital of dengue. Those are the headlines for tonight. You're now with me, Sholcha Mato, and this is TVS Nightline. Sarawak is now exemplary to countries like Croatia, which is now following in its footsteps in developing renewable energy. Dr. Ivan Velimir Starcevic, the Croatian ambassador to Malaysia, said Zagreb chose Sarawak after witnessing the steady progression of Sarawak's renewable energy industry, which holds a significant potential.
Is devoted very much to the green economy, to circular economy, to hydrogen, to the renewable sources of energy. We in Croatia try to follow, of course, that path as well. We are looking for partners, establish new partners in this field.
A delegation from Croatia will be making their way to Bintulu late evening on Wednesday to discuss further on the matter, said Ivan after he had paid a courtesy call to Sarawak's Premier Dato' Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg earlier today. Apart from that, Ivan is also eyeing an opportunity for both Croatia and Sarawak to collaborate in the tourism industry, as both destinations has places of interest that can be promoted together.
Croatia's interest in pursuing Sarawak as an investment destination for green economy has further strengthened the state's position in its green energy agenda through more strategic partnerships and investors.
Sarawak memerlukan pelabur yang strategik, pelabur yang mempunyai modal yang besar, yang mahu melabur dalam sektor ekonomi hijau yang merupakan keutamaan Sarawak masa kini. Begitu juga dengan tenaga yang diperbarui yang merupakan satu daripada keistimewaan Sarawak dalam konteks Malaysia. Jadi saya kira pemilihan Croatia yang melihat Sarawak sebagai peluang pelaburan tersebut di Sarawak memandangkan Sarawak satu-satunya negeri dalam Malaysia yang mengutamakan ataupun memfokuskan tenaga baru, tenaga diperbarui. Ini penting untuk melihat ekonomi masa depan. Bukan saja untuk Sarawak dan untuk negara, tapi juga dalam konteks serantau.
In addition, he also added that the Sarawak government needs to consider sealing the collaboration with a Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) or a Memorandum of Agreement (MOA).
And Bukit Asih area in SIBU is no longer classified as a dengue hotspot following proactive measures by the state government to root out the problem. Deputy Premier Dr. Sim Kui Hian quipped that this includes planned redevelopment for the riverine town. Dr. Sim, who is also the State Public Health, Housing and Local Government Minister, remarked that dengue cases in Sarawak is decreasing too, despite the uptick in cases reported in other parts nationwide.
We always talk about the capital of dengue, but luckily now the capital of dengue has been taken over by the whole of Malaysia. Between last year and this year, in Malaysia, there have a 223% increase in dengue. Sarawak, we are very lucky because we've been monitoring dengue every week. And then compared to the same period, we only a small increase in dengue. And the Sarawak is the only one that increased by 4.5% versus everybody else increased by 3 digits.
Dr. Sim said this to TVS after attending the meetings of the Cabinet Committee to Combat Dengue chaired by the Deputy Prime Minister Dato' Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi in Parliament on Tuesday. As the health custodian in the state, he said the Sarawak government has agreed to the proposal to set up a top-level cabinet committee in the effort to reduce dengue cases. Adding that the committee at the state level could be chaired by the Premier, Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg, or a Deputy Premier together with other agencies.
One important step towards encouraging coexistence is understanding the risks, whereby human-crocodile conflict can be managed through careful and responsible practices in place.
Jadi itulah penekanan yang kita. Jadi pada masa ini kita dalam perancangan untuk mengadakan program Century, Crocodile Century, di mana kawasan-kawasan yang akan dihaskan untuk pembiayaan buaya liar. Jadi oleh kerana itulah banyak program what we call educational program yang kita jalankan oleh SFC supaya konflik human crocodile conflicts ini dapat dikurangkan. Because education is one of the most important aspect untuk kita mengurangkan. Tapi maklumlah kita di Sarawak ini kita masih menggunakan sungai sebagai sumber pendapatan, sumber kehidupan kita. Oleh sebab itulah once in a while kita mendengarlah crocodile attack on the population.
Len noted that several rivers have been identified as potential sanctuaries.
Sudah kita tiap-tiap bahagian ataupun sungai ini nanti akan kita sediakan sanctuary supaya kawasan berkenaan akan dapat is out of bound untuk orang publik lah. Memang kita sudah kena pasti sungai-sungai ini supaya yang tidak dapat buaya yang kita alih pada tempat ini nanti dia akan membahayakan populasi.
The semiconductor industry is poised for further growth, with more highly paid jobs expected to be created in the upcoming years. The boon to Sarawak's economy would be a monumental undertaking that will allow Sarawak to continue reaping rewards from its developing ecosystem.
Successful ecosystem will bring great socio-economic benefits to Sarawak. Sarawak people will enjoy high level incomes and higher quality of life. More higher values job opportunities will be created for graduates from higher education institutions.
He added that cooperation between Sarawak Microelectronics Design Semiconductor Sdn Bhd (SMD) could propel Sarawak and Southeast Asia in launching a high-technology ecosystem as well as a high-value semiconductor industry. At the same time, it will contribute to Sarawak's gross domestic product in the long term.
SMD could be the cornerstone of Sarawak digital economy that attracts more foreign investments and delivers more high-tech exports. All this will contribute to Sarawak GDP growth in long term. Take for example, Taiwan Semiconductor Corporation TSMC was founded more than 30 years ago. Socio-economic impact TSMC brought to Taiwan today is really the concerted efforts and commitment by private and public institutions.
In addition, he is optimistic that SMD can be a success story for Sarawak in the future.
With its sweet filling and taste, kuih bongkol is among the many choices for breaking a fast. Adored by many, the delicacy is no stranger in the local community, a dish commonly served in ceremonies.
Kuih bongkol trader Hamadi Magimin said the dish is a popular choice at Ramadan bazaars throughout Sarawak.
nya memang akan jadi tarikan pada bulan puasa. Sesekalinya memang akan famous dah di bulan puasa. Untuk bulan-bulan lain mungkinnya biasa-biasa saja, tapi di bulan puasanya memang menjadi tarikan yang luar biasa lah. Okey, first kali ya, pandangan kami lah, nya dibuat daripada tepung beras yang kita tahu. Okey, lepasnya nya disaluti dengan gula apong ah. Gula apong yang memang kita pun nature situ lah. Dari kami pun rasa nya kata orang sedang-sedang, nya sejuk, nya akan melegakan rasa badan lah. Agi-agi punya makan time sejuk. Bagi kami lah, mungkin orang lain ada cara lain lah.
For student Azza Hazwani, who is studying abroad, she admits that kuih bongkol will be her main craving upon returning to Sarawak.
As a student yang belajar dari luar negeri Sarawak, so every time bulan puasa memang kami akan balik Kuching untuk cari kuih bongkol lah. As kuih bongkol one of kuih yang memang trademark yang orang Sarawak selalu makan bulan puasa. So every time bulan puasa memang akan cari kuih bongkol sebabnya macam ada vibe yang kuih bongkol is Ramadan, Ramadan is kuih bongkol like that. So tempat yang kami selalu cari kuih bongkol is dekat Hasad Kitchen, which is dekat Hasad Kitchen jual macam-macam, especially kuih bongkol, and ada juga suntong tutok yang memang keluar dalam bulan puasa. So sebagai student yang merantau, bila balik ke negeri diimpun, memang akan cari benda ya lah.
On the other hand, the demand for kuih bongkol could reach up to 200 packs a day. Now, what's more interesting is that kuih bongkol does not use artificial coloring and only depends on natural pandan leaves in its ingredient for coloration.
Coming up right after the break, Malaysia wants in at UN habitat and blaze kills 39 at Mexican migrant facility. Right here on TVS Nightline, stay tuned. Welcome back to the Nightline. Malaysia aims to be a member of the Executive Board of the United Nations Human Settlement Programme to represent the Asia-Pacific region in the elections to be held in Nairobi, Kenya in June. Local Government Development Minister Nga Ko Ming said this can strengthen Malaysia's role in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals SDGs agenda, especially goal number 11. Now, previously on March 20, Nga held an engagement session with the foreign embassies in Malaysia from the Asia-Pacific region as well as government agencies, as a way to realize Malaysia's hope to be a member of the said organization. The UN Habitat has been mandated by the UN General Assembly to promote socially and environmentally sustainable towns and cities with the aim of providing adequate shelter for everyone. With the dengue cases on the rise about 400% this year, the Cabinet Committee to Combat Dengue has been reactivated to combat this new upsurge of cases. Deputy Prime Minister Dato Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said that as of March 25, there had been reports of a total of 26,222 dengue cases compared to last year's 8,124 cases within the same period, with deaths due to dengue complications also rising as well.
He said the annual allocation for fighting dengue was 240 million ringgit, but the government's strategy was to use only an eighth of this amount. Thus, the committee will not be seeking additional allocations, but will adopt corporate social responsibility (CSR) approaches, such as mobilizing assets of NATMA, National Disaster Management Agency, outside the flood season to ferry equipment for anti-dengue operations.
The Anti-Sexual Harassment Act 2022, or Act 840, is enforced in phases effective today. The Women, Family and Community Development Ministry said the enforcement involves the definition of sexual harassment, elements of awareness and prevention of sexual harassment in the community, adding that it reflects the government's concern and serious commitment to addressing and eliminating gender-based discrimination, especially sexual harassment.
The Act involves Section 1, Short Title and Commencement, Section 2, Interpretation, Section 24, Administrator, Section 25, Functions and Powers of Administrator, and Section 26, Power to make regulations. It added that when the understanding and awareness of sexual harassment and its effects on the victims can be enhanced in the community, it directly helps towards providing a safe environment. Act 840 was passed in the Dewan Rakyat on July 20th, 2022, and subsequently in the Dewan Negara on August 11th, 2022. It was gazetted as a new law on October 18th last year after receiving a royal assent from the Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah.
And the government has spent 844.6 million ringgit in flood assistance nationwide last year. Deputy Minister in the Prime Minister's Department of Sabah and Sarawak Affairs and Special Functions, Dr. Wilson Ugak Kumbong, said the allocation was channeled to State Disaster Management Committees, SDMC, and the Implementation Coordination Unit under the Prime Minister's Department.
Peruntukan bantuan bencana bagi bantuan wang ihsan BWI adalah jumlah 261,467,000. Yang kedua, peruntukan bantuan bencana bagi bantuan barang keperluan asas BBKA adalah berjumlah 487,172,500 ringgit. Dan peruntukan bantuan bencana bagi bantuan pembaikan rumah BPR adalah berjumlah 84,208,000 ringgit.
He said this in reply to a question from Kluang MP Wong Shu Ki regarding the amount spent on flood rescue operations, cash assistance to victims as well as other spendings for the year 2022. Commenting further, Wilson Ugak said funding allocated for disaster aid during the southeast monsoon amounts to 832.8 million ringgit. He further said Sarawak received 8.9 million ringgit in disaster aid last year.
The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, performs its duties independently according to the legislation and is not subject to the Prime Minister's instructions.
Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim has made a decision to retain MACC's Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki, who was appointed in November of last year. The move aims to repel negative perceptions of corruption.
Saya tidak memilih untuk menukar Ketua Pesuruhjaya SPRM telah dilantik oleh Paguh untuk tidak menimbulkan persepsi bahawa seorang Perdana Menteri baru akan melantik seorang Ketua SPRM yang baru. Sebab itu saya kekalkan. Dan peraturan undang-undang sekarang ini menjamin kebebasan SPRM.
Anwar said that in reply to Masjid Tanah MP Datuk Mas Asmiyati Samsudin in Parliament. Commenting further, Anwar said he remains open to any proposal in strengthening the Commission.
The Attorney General's Department has been instructed to study a single mechanism that can be used to conduct investigations against all enforcement agencies. The proposed method can be used should there be any allegations made against officers of the Royal Malaysia Police (PDRM), Royal Malaysian Customs Department, Immigration Department and the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission (MACC).
Prime Minister Datuk Anwar Ibrahim stressed that the matter is not complicated as there is already a preliminary proposal and requires refinement in its implementation.
Dalam bentuk sama ada Suruhanjaya, saya belum pasti, tapi sudah ada arahan kepada Jabatan Peguam Negara untuk mengemukakan cadangan supaya badan-badan penguasaan ini tidak menyiasat sendiri, tetapi ada satu badan lain yang bebas yang akan menyiasat perkara ini.
He said this in reply to a supplementary question from Damansara MP Gobind Singh on the government's measure to ensure that investigations against officers of enforcement bodies, such as the MACC, are carried out independently. Commenting further, Anwar reiterated his standing, whereby transparency is important and all allegations made against enforcement officers will be investigated.
Thank you for staying with me. And now on to our world affairs. A fire broke out at a migrant facility in the Mexican northern border city of Ciudad Juarez, killed at least 39 migrants and left 29 others injured. Emergency personnel wrapped casualties in foil and carried their bodies to the vehicles. The injured were sent to 4 hospitals in the area. The victims at the scene were helped by a large number of people, some of whom are volunteers. Mexican government's National Migration Institute said in a statement that a total of 68 adult men from Central and South America were staying at the burned-down facility. The fire, one of the deadliest to hit the country in years, occurred as the United States and Mexico are currently battling in order to cope with the record levels of border crossings at their shared frontier. Meanwhile, Hungary's parliament approved a bill on Monday to allow Finland to join NATO once its application has been ratified by all 30 members of the alliance, effectively ending months of foot-dragging by the ruling Fidesz party on the matter.
The bill on Finland's NATO accession was passed with 182 in favor and 6 votes against, after Fidesz said last week it would back the motion. Finland and Sweden asked to join the transatlantic military alliance last year in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But the process has been held up by Turkey and Hungary. Although Finland's bid has now been approved, the Swedish bill is still stranded in the Hungarian parliament. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan said last week that Turkey's parliament would also start ratifying Finland's accession. However, it also held off approving Sweden's bid. A vote on Sweden's bid has not yet been scheduled in Budapest.
And 37-year-old Humza Yousaf has been selected to be the country's next leader by the Scottish nationalists, making him the Scottish government's first and only cabinet minister. After a bitterly fought contest that exposed deep divisions in his party over policy and a stalled independence campaign. Among his new goals as Nicola Sturgeon's successor include tackling the cost of living crisis and making a renewed push for independence.
It is hard for me to find the words to describe just how honoured I am to be entrusted by our membership of the SNP to be the party's next leader and to be on the cusp of being our country's next First Minister. I am not just humbled of that, I most certainly am. I also feel like the luckiest man in the world to be standing here as the leader of the SNP, a party I joined almost 20 years ago and that I love so dearly.
Yousaf's victory was confirmed at the capital's Murrayfield rugby ground after a 6-week campaign where the candidates spent much of the contest criticizing each other's record in a series of personal attacks. The SNP's unity, which had been one of its strengths, broke down over arguments about how to achieve a second independence referendum and the best way to introduce social reforms such as transgender rights. Yousaf takes over a party with an overriding objective to end Scotland's 3 centuries-long union with England.
And that's all the time we have for TVS Nightline. I'm Shal Shamato. Thank you for watching.